so historically, DMCI has been the Downtown Merchant Association.
Okay.
So anything that goes above and beyond, anything that is unique downtown is typically us.
Yeah.
So banners on lampposts,
Okay.
DMCI.
Okay.
Holiday decorations downtown. There's Christmas lights
Yep.
and whatever. Downtown Moncton.
You pick those.
Anything that we think or that our merchants believe and our board believes that can bring people downtown, animate the downtown, and obviously we have a strategy and,
Yeah.
and we're not just shooting in the dark, but
Yeah.
anything we can create and animate and have placemaking opportunities downtown. That's us and that's what we do. So you'll see, anything that's unique downtown is typically us, and the municipal government and council and administration obviously have their duties to the whole city, where we can focus directly on the downtown.
Yeah,
core.
and I think too the uniqueness too is the way in which we represent businesses,
Right.
Downtown businesses in that core area that we were talking about in terms of the business improvement area,
Yeah.
and our representation of those businesses. I mean, I was saying how I've worked in downtown proper since the late 90s. I started really, really young in downtown. Having moved from Fredericton back then and how, there was downtown Fredericton was just this beautiful sort of downtown and all these things. And we moved here in the late 90s. And if you see and you've paid attention to the growth and beautification that's happened of our downtown, it's been significant. In particular, over the last, I look at just the development and the building of the Avenir Center. And the trickle effect that's had on, increase in infrastructure and restaurants and cafes and retail environments, and the growth that we've seen in the cranes in the sky, right? So the way in which DMCI represents those businesses and they are our members is a real differentiating factor, I think, for us versus the municipality, amongst other sort of responsibilities that we have versus them.
Yeah, and it's more a contained decision making, right? Like you're not, I think a municipality has many things that they need to take care of. You're focusing specifically on our downtown core and making that more vibrant in a nutshell. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Where, municipal government has 100 or let's say 90,000 bosses. We have about 650 property owners and business owners, roughly. So ultimately, a little easier to manage, but understanding that they're interested in what brings people downtown, what keeps them there, what makes them, want to come downtown and stay in their shops and all that. So it's a little easier. It's a little funner. It's probably a lot funner to work at DMCI and create those experiences versus having to, work on sewage infrastructure. Although I'm sure it's fun.
I'm sure it's
super
great.
fun.
Sure
Super fun.
We don't want to diss that.
We have a funner job, and we can spend our opportunity or spend our time building opportunities for people to enjoy the downtown and create the vibrancy.
And I'm gonna throw some props to Pat and the team that work at DMCI. Like obviously being on the board where we're there to sort of help lead in a lot of ways, but for sort of in recent years too, just sort of the holiday celebrations and the programming that has been put in place and the announcement of that, and then sort of the execution of that, the market downtown during the holidays this year. I think this was the first year of that, right? And then all the other activities that come with that happened at the Capitol Theater and all that during the holidays, and then the announcement recently of all the summer programming. And he can go on about especially the summer stuff. That brings people to the downtown. 100%. I have a 21-year-old daughter who works downtown also. Starts her first shift tonight, actually, in the downtown. And I think that, she hangs out in the downtown. She goes she has her sushi down there, and she, has worked at the Avenir Center. So it's certainly an area for that. Goes to the furnace room. I just like this. There's a vibrancy to it, and it's lovely for me to be involved as a board member for sure. But I'll let him speak to the summer program because this year it's exciting, and hopefully now that it's not raining anymore. Today. It's been 5 days straight.
As this airs, we'll have gone through a tsunami, a hurricane.
So hopefully for the summer it'll be beautiful weather and we'll be able to enjoy it.
I think we're lucky. I think when I think back to downtown, I think about going to the car show and going to Canada Day and the big events. So they're all back. Pandemic was a little rough for a couple of years, and we saw some hybrid and virtual and all these different versions of these events. Like that was make believe.
Temporary.
Like, it's back. It's so we're lucky. We're lucky they all wanted to come back. We're lucky that new events want to come downtown.
Good.
We obviously work with like the organizers. We have a grant program where we support nonprofits that want to have an event or a festival downtown. So that's great, and that allows them to kind of take a chance on downtown. And I think a lot of organizers want to be downtown just because there's so much happening and a lot of infrastructure is already there. But yeah, so the summer is going to be awesome. It's going to be great. It's the 25th anniversary of the car show, so I think they're going
very cool
all out. They're going to go do something a little special on the Saturday night. So they typically do Friday night in the downtown. They're also doing Saturday night.
Very cool.
Canada Day, the Rib Fest, the Highland Games, the Buskers are back. You name it. There's a lot going on this summer.
Very cool. Well, with that said, I have to do an intro.
Okay.
In all of this, we do sometimes have people that come in to try to come in. We once did not lock the doors. We had people come in. We're like, oh, we're just filming.
Oh, good.
So with that said, Pat, Tracey, thanks for coming on the podcast. I'm really excited about this episode, especially because I think that for a lot of people that probably this election, the federal election, they got really interested from their seat of their TV or in front of their computer, and some people were angry and other people were hopeful, and however that may be. But how long they've been interested in politics, we don't know. Sometimes we think like, it's the education system that has failed us in not allowing us to really understand how it is. And when we trickle it down to even just the municipal side, I think a lot of people, they're like, what the hell does our municipal government do, right? And even further than that is there's an awesome organization like Downtown Moncton that operates in a way where I think a lot of people are like, well, like where does their responsibility start and end? And that's what we're hopefully going to discover today. And also, our podcast is really about figuring out that journey of how people get involved in these things and how they're doing it, or even where they've found an inspiration on bringing some ideas maybe from similar people in the industry and bringing it over to Moncton to make our city grow, right? So thanks for coming on. Thanks for obviously taking your time of the day on probably the only sunny day in the month of May.
Yes, really. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So where I really want to start, which I think is kind of a good question to open this up, is what would you say is one or some of the misconceptions people even have about the Downtown Moncton organization?
I'm going to get Pat start.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Well, what do I spend my days doing? Differentiating ourselves from the city of Moncton, which is not a bad thing, and it's not a taboo in the office, but we are independent from the city of Moncton. Gotcha. We render some services, so we have some contractual obligations to the city of Moncton, but for the most part, we're completely independent, funded by commercial property owners in the downtown.
Okay.
So don't quote me on the dates, but I think in 1977, so we would have been a working group from the Chamber of Commerce, from the Greater Moncton Chamber of Commerce, and downtown property owners specifically felt a little isolated. They felt like there was the mall, there was the North End, like people were moving out of the downtown, they were expanding the commercial footprint of the city, and they felt like they needed to invest in, or protect their investments. And so the creation of the Downtown Moncton Centre-Ville Inc. Originally was the Downtown Moncton Merchant Association. Okay. And it was really that. It was at the end of the day, how do we protect our investment, and how do we continue to promote and beautify and animate the downtown? And so it was created in late 70s. One of, if not the oldest, business improvement association in New Brunswick. Wow. It's seen a few different iterations. So Downtown Moncton Merchant Association eventually became Downtown Moncton Inc. Okay. When the city was officially bilingual in 2002, it became Downtown Moncton Centre-Ville Inc. And really, yeah, so we stand or we represent the downtown merchants.
Okay.
We are their association, we're their voice, we advocate on their behalf. And it's, some would say, the purest form of economic development. So it's the downtown merchants putting their money based off of their property assessment
Okay.
together,
Okay.
and for the common good. So promoting, beautifying, creating vibrancy downtown.
Okay.
We're governed by a board of directors, so minimum 7 up to 15 board members that are all either business owners downtown or work in a downtown business.
Yeah.
And yeah, we we exist to be the voice of the downtown business community and protect it and take care of it. So little different from the city.
Yeah.
So the city is obviously the municipal government, but we are there and for and by the downtown businesses.
And I'm gonna sort of connect to the statement that you made about the federal election and sort of the level of engagement that people have, and whether it's a federal election, provincial election, municipal election, or just in all of that we saw it within the federal election. It is, and DMCI is this also. And as a board member, I decided to be on this board and be, I had to be, apply to be on it and submit to be on this board. It's about community and civic engagement.
Right.
And it is, people have a voice, and they have a voice. We see it on social media. People have really loud voices. But, the most important thing, too, is to get involved.
Yeah.
And as it relates to the downtown Moncton proper, and in this case, and to be involved in the beautification of our downtown, to help contribute to advocacy for businesses that Pat referenced that we represent, is an engagement and a community involvement that I've made and the other board members make every day to help support that ongoing energy that happens in the downtown, whether it be the summer programming or the Avenir Center. While it does generate business and economic growth in the end, and that's an output and a result, what it is innately doing also is creating a sense of pride.
Yeah.
And we only have to look at what happened with the cup and the Wildcats bringing back the Q title to see what that created in a span of time. Whether you like hockey or don't like hockey, you didn't follow the Wildcats, there was no doubt that it was visible, it was felt from an economic standpoint, and it created so much of a sense of pride in, look at us, we're on TSN. I know it sounds whatever, it sounds ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous. And it in and of itself creates that sense of pride and engagement. So the very nature of what we do, whether it's, people can say Christmas decorations is something, there's still an element of that's really nice and I feel good about it. Making people feel good is a demonstration of great things happening in a time when sometimes not all the things are great.
No. For sure.
So I would say that just to sort of connect the dots to your statement about the federal election, that's kind of how I see it too as a board member.
I mean, do you see and where I was trying to go with seeing a little bit of the misconceptions, do you often think that some people are conflicting your involvement with beautifying it with also like what people would consider like, hey, let's clean this up? I hear that term a lot. Obviously, what I hate hearing, especially on social media, is people being unaware that when cities grow, everything grows, good or bad. And I think like if you've lived like Pat and I and you are originally
I'm originally from Frankston, but I've been living in Moncton for 25 plus years.
So 25 years
very
ago
familiar
wasn't the same
with
thing, right?
the changes that have been
and so with those things come good and bad. Do you think a lot of people just think like, oh, well, that downtown Moncton, they should just be cleaning up everything? Like, is that the feeling that you kind of get?
And I'm going to speak to something, but then I think I'm going to get Pat to really speak to the Enviro program because it's such an important program. One of the things I would say is you're right. There is with growth comes some wonderful things, but with it also comes some challenges and some. So with great opportunities comes challenges, and they become larger. What I would suggest though is, and Pat and I have spoke about this a few times in meetings that we've had, is, a narrative that is problem focused offers zero solution.
I agree.
So what we choose to do as an organization, as a board, is to be a part of an ecosystem that is looking towards solutions, and work with the many partners that are involved in the issues that we're referencing, to come up with some ways to help in the capacity that we can, even as an organization that only has this amount. But I think that being a part of a positive narrative is really important. Not everybody wants to hear it. They kind of like to sort of be more in the negative space sometimes, but being part of telling a positive story about our area is absolutely key, and that's what we're trying to do too. Yeah.
And I mean, there definitely is, and there will continue to be a mess downtown. That's normal. It's a place where a lot of people spend a lot of time. We have addressed some of that. We've created the Enviro team. So the Enviro team is funded by the City of Moncton, so it's a partnership. And what we aim to do with that, so historically we've had students that go around downtown and clean up the sidewalks. With some of these issues that we're talking about, social issues, people experiencing homelessness in the downtown, we see a lot more mess. So we created this program called the Enviro team. The Enviro runs 7 days a week, and is actually a great program based off of a program that I see outside Montreal called the Clean Brigade. And what happened, and it was kind of organic, but we attracted people that believed in the downtown. We attracted people that needed low barrier employment. And so actually a couple members of our team are actually people who lived and experienced homelessness in the same streets that they're now cleaning.
Very cool.
Another piece of the team is people that live with disabilities. So we work with the Canadian Council for the Rehabilitation of Work, and it's great, rewarding work. But it's also doing really good downtown. And so we definitely confound cleaning the streets and physically picking up garbage or waste with cleaning the streets. And that's never our intention. I don't know that we need to clean the streets. I think we need to work with partners, as Tracey alluded to, and work with organizations that are doing really good work, that just probably need help and need a little bit more resources. We have a lot of services, but we probably need more. And so the numbers keep growing, and we're going to keep addressing that. We're going to keep working on it. But I think that's an issue. People confound the two. But the Enviro team is a great example of how we try to be pro solution. I had a mentor growing up, probably my first job, that used to say, you fix what you focus on. So if you're intentional with, okay, we're actually going to fix this. It goes back to the broken window theory. So if downtown looks like a mess, well, people have no problem throwing extra trash around or whatever, right? So if we have a team that's actively cleaning the downtown, actively being out there, almost as ambassadors to the city as well, greeting people, cleaning up, people see that, and then that kind of behavior is then remodeled and done again, right? So it's been great. It's been a great program.
And in addition to having worked for so long in the downtown, I live in the downtown. So I live and have lived in the downtown for upwards of 15 years, and now I'm really, in the last 5, very much in the core of the downtown, and very visibly seeing the Enviro, the green trucks traveling around our downtown has been something that does, to the brook, and where it does make people feel, okay, well, things are improving in the business improvement area, if you will. But I think that it's a wonderful place to live. People ask me about it all the time. You live in the downtown. I love living in the downtown. I absolutely adore it. I choose to live there. I bought there, and I wouldn't live anywhere else. Love the North End and all the other ends of the city. This is where I like to be. Props to the Enviro model, which I think is really working, not only for the work that it does, but the way in which it employs those that work there. You know, to his point about those that work there and sort of bringing those aboard. So it's been a visual, not just in terms of the actual cleanup, but also in terms of the visibility of the vehicles and the community aspect of it. So yeah, absolutely.
I mean, let's continue on these success stories or these positive stories, which I love. You said, like, you know, you want to focus on the more positive stuff. Like, what's really positive and exciting that the downtown Moncton team is working on, or that the discussions are happening within the board or whatnot, that you guys are really excited on?
I think maybe bigger than just the work that we do at DMCI, but what's really positive downtown is residential happening, so being built. I started with DMCI about 3 years ago, just a little over 3 years ago. There was very little people that lived downtown. Tracey being one of the only people I know who actually lived
just me
downtown.
right there.
Just Tracey. But we're talking, you know, maybe 2,000-3,000 people live downtown. And now with a lot of residential buildings being, you know, putting up, and Three Sisters were a big catalyst to that growth. You're talking about adding 2,000-3,000 people potentially in the next few years. So all of a sudden, you know, it's the chicken and the egg. It's the service comes first, the residential comes first. Well, now we're building residential, so the service are going to have to follow. You see coffee shops going up almost on every corner downtown. Somebody asked me the other day, like, when are we going to have enough coffee shops? Well, if they're busy and people are going to them, then we don't have an issue. So it's that gets me excited. That's very positive. We're seeing, you know, slowing down a little bit in residential, like people looking for places because there's capacity being built, which is exciting. So people could actually find a place to live. And so hopefully they pick downtown. You know, there's some great options. There's some great options coming as well. There's some things being built and projects being, you know, submitted to council, and so that's exciting. So that's a big one. That's a big win for us. Makes our lives a whole lot easier when there's people. So you want to build your community, or you want to build your downtown around your residents. Tourists will come. To build a space, or to build a downtown around, hopefully, your tourists. Like, look at what's happening with the U.S. right now. We're seeing a lot of less U.S. tourists. We'll probably see a lot more Quebec tourists. So there's a win there. But you know, you build a city or a downtown or a space for tourists. It's not a guarantee. Your residents are living there, physically in your space,
and they keep those stores and the services alive.
They do, and you know,
Tracey certainly does.
Yes, I keep them alive. Just solely me on Cornhill. So no, I think that even in the last 5 years that I've lived there, you know, having referenced already the cranes in the sky, that we've seen in the last 5. You know, where I live, I often wonder at what point a developer is coming around the corner because of the location of my home. It is one of there's so many areas for potential growth. So it has been, I think, you know, to Pat's point around tourism. What we're potentially going to see this summer is, given what's happening in the United States and you know, people staying home perhaps a bit more and doing a staycation scenario, is an influx of people who want to stay and experience our downtown, which gives us a tremendous opportunity. As DMCI, as the city of Moncton, I'm sure we'll also capitalize on. So I think that, you know, whilst it's a unfortunate scenario to the south of us in some ways for us, but you know, things are hopefully looking up. It presents an opportunity, and but what sustains us are the people that live there, and there are new people everywhere, and that's a great thing to see, and it's a great thing to witness.
Well, and we've seen like Moncton grow exponentially outwards, and I think like that's great and all to bring people in Moncton or to grow this city in a sense, but it takes you away from building that.
You don't want to sprawl out. Like, I think that, you know, building up is probably the most logical in many cases. But you know, keeping it to the area that we're in, obviously it creates the need for cafes. It creates the need for local eateries and local places to go for a drink after work. And you see those things grow, and you see businesses begin to support other businesses, and all those things create opportunity. So the trickle effect of that large residential influx has been really important to us, and it allows us to go, okay, well, what do those residents want? What do those potential tourists want in terms of, summer programming, or holiday programming, and so really building programs around that.
I mean, we had a population that worked downtown. Pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
People were in downtown. They lived downtown Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, or whatever, 9 to 5. So cafes thrived in lunch hour. They did well, or I guess restaurants thrived on lunch hours. Cafes did really well at 10 and 3. And that was the routine downtown for a long time. Pandemic hits, everybody goes home, and not everybody's back yet. People are on hybrid schedules. People are, working downtown maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever. So we're lucky that we were able to sustain, or our business are able to sustain or be resilient with events. So not only summer and winter events, but the Avenir Center generates a lot of traffic. So the Wildcats, we talked to the Wildcats, they're doing really well. Every time there's a Wildcat game, the restaurants
they're
benefit.
probably packed.
We did Broadway this past winter and spring. So there's a few shows there that have generated.
Not Pat and I.
I was not in a Broadway.
You were not. I was not either.
But so those are great things, and they're great ways to bring people downtown and take in a show, go to the restaurant. The Capitol Theater, year over year, is breaking records.
Absolutely.
Way more comfortable.
Yes.
Oh man.
And you talk about the good things, and having said that, I just came back from the United States and actually in New Jersey, and one of the things that made me so much more appreciative of the downtown. No offense to, hopefully nobody from Jersey is watching this, but it's a complete, you can't walk anywhere.
Right.
We literally could see MetLife Stadium and could not get to it. Okay. So the walkability of our downtown, and what that affords us as residents, as people who work downtown in the core, is really quite spectacular. I think we take it for granted.
Oh, 100%.
But when you realize that you want to get to from point A to point B, and the only way you can do it is taking an Uber, you start to think, well, isn't it great that we have that opportunity to walk to, the Avenir Center, or down to Kept on Main or the Chris Rock Tavern within a very small area. And walk to them. So anyway, that's just one thing that really struck me that I think that we sometimes don't think of as great, but it is great.
A lot of people, like you obviously have heard the same thing as me when we were in high school, is like everybody couldn't wait to leave. And then you go to Montreal, even if you go to Montreal on a weekend to go see a concert or anything like that, you're like, once you get back, you're like, holy shit, that's exhausting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think like oftentimes we take for granted what we have here. I love to hear that also there is a push for the residential, because I think that's also like a problem from the sprawling, and also a difficulty to continue to expand on making the downtown more exciting, is if people don't live actually close to it and it's not walkable, like our public infrastructure for transportation is not really there, right? So you can't really like, you can't drive there, leave your car. We used to have the parking ban during winter, so people would not want to drive their cars and things like that, and then people complain about no parking downtown and blah blah blah.
But I mean, a really great solution to a parking, and I'll say problem or traffic problem, is building density downtown.
Right.
100%.
People are always, and this might be a taboo term, but the 15-minute city.
There's
nothing wrong with the 15-minute city.
No,
If you want to live and you want to eat your drink your coffee and eat your croissant in the same building, there's nothing wrong with that. And people want that. People, like,
100%.
we see an influx of people moving to the Three Sisters, moving to buildings downtown, because they want to be able to park their car and only have to take it on the weekends when they need to go to Costco or whatever, right? So there's a whole generation of people that like that want that. And so I think we talked about problems, and I think solutions, being solution oriented, building density downtown, it solves a lot of those problems.
It does. And one of the things too that I don't know how much we talk about, is the idea that bringing new people, sort of from a residential standpoint, also brings diversity in many cases.
Right.
Whether that be just general diversity or cultural diversity through from an art standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, which is visible and important and makes us grow as people, as community, and it affords us that much more possibility in terms of the types of restaurants that we have,
100%.
and the types of businesses that are run downtown. So, people often, you hear it in the negative narrative scenario. It's, well, we kind of want it not to be growing. And we'd like the people just to be the people that have been there for 35 years. Well, then I guess you just want the same businesses and you don't want to have growth because there's so much opportunity and new individuals moving to the downtown core. So, and again, that's a lot of diversity in all the ways. So to me, the benefits that we're seeing now will continue, but they are adding so much value to our proposition as a downtown, and we're seeing it, and that's why I decided to be on this board, and in part because we're seeing the prosperity that this is creating. So
well, I think John, you mentioned growing up there was the narrative of you had to leave to go to study. You had to leave to go make yourself, to make it. I think that's less of a narrative now. I think
for
we
sure.
both work together in economic development, provincial economic development, and a lot of what we worked on is like there's great things here. There's some fantastic things here. On a granular level in the downtown, but just in New Brunswick in general, you don't have to leave. You don't. There's great post-secondary education institutions. There's amazing employment opportunities. Hopefully you're going to work downtown, but I mean, if you don't, there's awesome opportunities all over the province. And, having to leave is just not. You can go for vacation, come back. But you don't have to leave.
No, and Pat and I having both worked in economic development, and me working specifically in the marketing communication space, of telling the story of great things are happening in New Brunswick, the context being New Brunswick, but and the idea that promoting who we are, this whole idea of, we were a drive-through province, and that whole we're not. It's just if you continue to say it, you're just going to believe it. So just don't say it anymore, and understand that we have massive amounts of space in this province where the beach is down here. There's glamping here. There's Kushibukwak. There's so many. We are so lucky. It is not a highway where you can't get to the mall. So I'm just referencing New Jersey again. But it is. We have such great things.
Oh my God.
And if we were to just focus on those great things, we perhaps would be better at promoting ourselves and our brand as a province, as a city, and as a downtown, which is what we're doing as a downtown. But beginning to shape the story means that we have a responsibility, each and every one of us, not just DMCI, like the people that are sitting at home, have a responsibility to say, you know what, I actually really like living here. And being a part of that conversation in a positive way helps create a positive story outside of it, and increases the investment in our province and our city. Et cetera, et cetera.
And two things can be right at the same time, right?
They can.
Right.
So you can love to stay here and love to live here, and which I do. You can still want to work on things.
Right.
And so people, it's either black or white. It's either it's the best ever, or it's the worst ever, and it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
So you can love living in Moncton or love living downtown, and want to fix social issues, or you want to fix urban sprawl, or whatever your thing is, traffic, whatever your crux that you want to bear, or whatever, you can work on that and still love being here. So I think people often on social media especially are very like black or white, this is the worst ever, or this is the best ever, and there's no nuance when you type on social media.
There's not. And we know, and I know friends of mine who are advocates, who are not on the board of DMCI necessarily, who are community advocates for the downtown, who are heavily involved in organizations like Ensemble, who are very, very vocal and positive about trying to implement change, and are doing so on a voluntary basis. So that is, and creating a positive conversation around those things. The two can coexist. I think it's the way in which it's presented often that we
and I think it's like it's it's an age-old story that doesn't matter if it's in the private sector or the public sector, if it's in relationships or it's within yourself. It's like a lot of times we don't point the finger towards us and try to figure out what we can fix within ourselves, or like how did we create the problem, right? A lot of people like to be like, well, it's because they did this, or because, like, they always like to point the finger.
It's our lean-in solution to go, well, it's kind of not my fault. I'm going to point the finger.
Exactly.
Totally.
So I think that's it obviously creates a challenge in some way. What I'm wondering too is, like, obviously having a board is really, really awesome, but what are some of the mechanisms that are created that allow for a dialogue between, like, you're representing the business owners. How do you listen to what the 650 business owners tell you every single day, or
try to?
Yeah. How have you set that up so it's a good fluid? Because I find, like, especially with our organization, like, it started as a mom and pop shop, one store, grew to, we've got 275 employees, but it's the people on the floor that know what we should be working on.
Yeah.
So you have to go and listen to them. If we don't listen to them, you're gonna have people like me sitting in my office being like, oh, well, we should market toilets when everybody's shopping for propane barbecues, right? And I could just go on the floor and be like, hey, what are people asking for lately? And I would get the answer. So I'm wondering how you set that up.
Well, so as the executive director, that's probably what I spend the most time on, right? Is understanding what do merchants want, why, and how can we get there, and how do we make a compromise, because it's often compromising. How do we have something or create something that most of the downtown merchants appreciate? So the board's a big way that we get feedback. So obviously there's 14 business owners and or downtown employees that represent 14 different organizations in a bunch of different sectors, so we get a really good pulse for what's going on downtown that way. But keeping our ear to the ground, like, that's so important. So I have a really great team. So I have a membership engagement coordinator who her job is a lot of face-to-face, a lot of connecting with merchants, understanding what their needs are, understanding what their day-to-day looks like. I have an operations manager who runs the Enviro team, who spends a lot of time outside, who's been with the organization a long time. So he has a really good pulse of what's going on. And I think in a more formal context, we do surveys, we do obviously send emails out, and communication and e-blasts and things like that. But really getting face-to-face with the merchant, understanding what they need is so important, and probably where we spend the most of our time, or should be spending most of our time, so that we understand what they need. And to your point, like, if I'm sitting in my office and I think, well, this is a great initiative, and it doesn't really mean anything for the merchants, then it's all for nothing, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I'm sensing that since you're in the downtown, you're on the ground there talking to the coffee shop owners and.
Well, everything I I have very little mileage on my car. At the end of the day.
I was going to ask, do you have a car?
No, like, literally, there's a Sobeys, a liquor store, a Shoppers, and a Dollarama down the street from me. And there's, coffee shops around the corner. So I was, his reference around, listening to downtown businesses. I also think that with DMCI too is, to our conversation about some of the issues that we could face, and it could be any kind of issue that could be faced. It could be COVID specifically. And as part of the board, we have an advocacy committee that if there's a scenario where you say, okay, I think that this impacts a significant amount of our membership, and we should probably, it's not about taking a position so much as looking at how do we best look at how we can support our membership in that specific issue, and in what ways we do it. So I think that that's our responsibility too. Again, you're going to have businesses who are, pissed off about something, and rightfully so. They're maybe dealing with something very specific in front of their restaurant or their coffee shop.
Right.
Completely understandable. And we understand those things, and for the vast majority, though, I'd say all of them are really trying to thrive and encouraging of the location that they're in,
Yeah.
and have a loyal customer base.
Yeah.
And we continue to see that with those businesses. So, and we've seen ongoing improvement in that area as well over the last several. I think because of the work we've done.
I mean, at the end of the day, they've all made investments or continue
Right,
to make
exactly.
investments in their business and want to be downtown.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we help them be at a better version of their business or be a better version of themselves? Like our job, and I mean, we obviously have missions and values and strategic plans, but at the end of the day, our job is to get people downtown, and then each merchant's responsibility is to get them through their front door.
Right.
It's kind of how we kind of, that's the game. That's what we try to attempt. And sometimes we do really well and we do a great event or whatever, and it works, and people come downtown and everybody takes part, and it's amazing. And sometimes we don't. And so how do we get feedback from the merchants to say, you know what, that event actually really hurt my business. It was, there's food trucks, so I wasn't busy that day. So that constant feedback is super interesting and very valuable.
And I also think that one of the things that DMCI does really well and has done really well in the last 2-3 years is tell great stories about our downtown businesses.
Right.
So, of course, there's businesses that have had challenges, in particular during COVID and for all kinds of reasons. But telling the good news stories about businesses that are selling really great products, offer a great restaurant experience, or have a loyal customer base, and it's the oldest tavern in New Brunswick, whatever it is, these are stories about our downtown that the more people hear them, and the more businesses feel seen in them too. I think the more they feel supported, and they are supported by an organization like ours. And I think that the work that's being done there, in particular too by DMCI, is really key too. Like through social and the social channels and those kinds of things, for sure.
I think as I'm going to say Atlantic Canadians or Maritimers, we've kind of we're pretty humble. We don't brag a lot. And as an organization that represents businesses, I think it's our opportunity, or it should be our job, to brag about them. Let them have the praise that they deserve. And on social, that's always the best. Like our posts that do really well are always when we talk about our merchants. And talk about the great things they're doing. And we need to do more of that, because that's what people want to see. They want to see good news stories. They want to hear about all the great things happening downtown. And the negative stuff is gonna happen. It doesn't matter where you are, and it's how you deal with it and how you keep talking about the positive. And I think it's our job is to brag on their behalf, and that's what we try to do.
Yeah, the great things are happening in downtown Moncton. It's the truth.
Believe it. You're always there.
I'm always there.
Literally.
Except when I'm in New Jersey.
What
I'm
do
not
you
sure I'm
think
gonna
is
go back
the
there.
recipe for success for because I've worked in the service industry for a very long time. I've worked in at the time probably one of the busier bars that you could ever be in with Captain Dan. So when they used to have Tuesday nights, and probably the kids don't even know that anymore, because after COVID they probably weren't doing them anymore, and kids don't go out and blah blah blah.
So many things to say about kids.
I'm aging myself at this point. It's not that long ago. But what I've grown to understand working in the service industry is people like to go where there's something going on. And I think it's important to build that vibe. The reason why I bring up Captain Dan's is people would go on a Tuesday because they know on a Tuesday there'd be a lot of people there, and you want to be around a lot of people. And there's a recipe around that needs to be built in order to make that, but it requires people and a good vibe. What do you think is this recipe for success for a downtown?
So I love talking about this, because I think this is where we talk about building the third space. And
which seems to have been kind of lost with after COVID.
Well,
right?
and so I think the theory, and don't quote me on this, but basically is, people used to go to school or work. They used to go to church, and they used to go to their house. So they'd live, in their space. They'd go to work or school, and then they'd be in their church. We've lost that third space, and people are a lot less active in the spiritual world. People sometimes don't work from another like a physical location. They work from home. So all of a sudden, these three that were very different spaces have become sometimes one, maybe two. Some people still have three spaces, but how do we create that third space downtown? And we talk about curating experiences, because you can get anything from Amazon.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of ordering from Amazon. Like I talk about supporting local till I'm blue in the face, but again, two things can be true at the same time.
Right, 100%.
We still support Amazon and order things off Amazon. It's just the reality of 2025.
Yeah.
But time and time again, people want to see and want to feel experiences.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can get a coffee from the drive-through of your local wherever, but you can also come downtown and sit down and talk to Ed that's behind the bar at your favorite coffee shop or whatever, and then you bump into John, who we used to go to high school together with, and we haven't seen in 5 years, and then like you can't order that in the drive-through.
No,
it just
no.
doesn't exist.
No.
And that's, I think, the beauty of downtown. It's like it's the convergence of all these experiences. Malls are great, strip malls are fine. Downtown's are where it's at. Like it's just it just is what it is.
And I think some of those take time too.
Yeah.
To create. If I look at specifically around, you use the Captain Dan's reference, but if I look at the outside of the Avenir Centre and the Oval, and some of the activities that take place on New Year's Eve as an example, and some of the concerts where you're bringing people to that space. And we reference young people specifically here, and in the young zone, I'm talking from like 18, 19 to whatever area, who then are much more likely to sort of stick around if they see themselves in something like that, where they go see a band, there's a beer car, what do they call them? Truck. I don't know what they are, but so and are engaged in that sort of fun aspect. You're creating something. Sometimes that takes time to create that third space. But when it is, and then they'll end up going to a specific cafe or another bar, and that becomes their spot. And their third space potentially, or a restaurant that they really enjoy, and that's where they're going to go every Friday night. So, and I think that nurturing the idea of that third space is something that is beginning to be seen. That there's starting to see these like little des noyaux d'activité qui se passe.
I think the biggest challenge, and we both saw it probably, I would say, like when I went with my first ID when I was 19 years old. But I mean, like in that age, from like maybe when we were 16 to 19, we would go maybe to the bar at like 8, 9 o'clock. And then as we progressed older, 24, 25, 26, it was like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And what's difficult with that is for like a restaurant owner or a bar owner, especially the bar owners that want to have that vibrant life, and again, we're talking about the kids, but like the kids have never been to O2, right? Or Manhattan. And that was a really big nightclub that was just downtown, and now Happy Brewing's there and stuff like that. But like, it must be such a challenge to try and turn the clock back and be like, how do we get people back in at like 5 p.m. till 2 a.m., right?
You also have to pay attention to trends. As a marketer, I pay very close attention to the trends of, you pay attention to, and it depends on the scenario, but if you're talking about young people specifically, their propensity now to go to sushi restaurants is quite high. They don't go to dance clubs anymore, but they will go past 11 for a few shots and then go to a friend's house. But there are trends that are very visible and very trackable that you can see growth in, so that the businesses can be created, adapt to them, which we've already seen, adapt to those trends that they're seeing for possible opportunity. The kinds of concerts that come to the Avenir Centre, and what are those? What does that attract? From Avril Lavigne to Michael Bublé to Megadeth. So what does that demonstrate? And paying really close attention to what restaurants are they actually going to? And at what hour are they going to them? And then sort of fostering that kind of growth.
Are you giving, like, when you're talking about these trends, and obviously you've got immense experience in marketing and communications, are you actively giving advice to businesses on like, hey, you should pay attention to these things, and like, if you kind of hop on just, okay, this is what people in this demographic are really interested in doing, your business kind of aligns with that. So here's things XYZ that you could do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tough being in an association because you don't want to give anybody, I guess, an unfair advantage. But yeah, of course, like that's feedback that we would try to give probably anecdotally. I also understanding that, you know, if your bar is closed on a Monday, which might be the day you decided to close and you're historically not busy, and that there's a conference in town and there's
Yep.
600 engineers attending an
Right,
event,
right.
they probably
Maybe
want to
you
go
should
to a
be open.
bar after the activity or the
I
conference
agree.
is over. So how do you adapt and be flexible
Yeah.
to be able to host them?
Yeah.
The Broadways were a really great example of that. So Broadway in Moncton brought 4 different shows with 5 shows each. So all of a sudden you have 20 shows.
Okay.
And some of them were matinees. Some of them were 2 p.m. matinees
Right.
where people either went to lunch
Yeah.
and then went to the show, or they went to the show and then went to supper.
Right.
I would say in general, an older crowd.
Fair.
But like, how do you expect, or how can you plan for a Thursday slammed rush hour when you haven't really done your research, or you haven't? So
Right.
we try to offer that feedback.
Yeah.
We work with partners on getting that information out.
Okay.
But we could probably do a better job at that. But yeah, understanding trends, understanding that people consume downtown differently. Like you mentioned, like, you know, the O2 and all those places, like people are really big on like microbreweries now,
Yeah.
and like going there like after work and
Yeah.
staying till 7-8 o'clock and then
Yeah.
going home.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a big trend right now. So Furnace Room did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
They've catered their clientele or their offerings to microbreweries.
Yeah.
Or, you know, so yeah, there's tons of stuff out there that you can.
And the Furnace
pick up
Room
on.
is a great example. The Furnace Room does jazz on Friday nights to
Yeah,
a certain
yeah.
point,
Oh,
which has a
did
very
you see
specific
that? Yeah.
demographic. Cut to 10:30, and my daughter is getting ready to go out
Right.
for 11.
Yeah.
And they're bringing in a
You can
DJ.
cross
That is a business. They themselves paying attention to trends.
100%.
Paying attention to trends. So I'd say that a lot of businesses have become, in this day and age, minus people like myself, have become astute relatively very much on their own.
Right.
To go, okay, so there's the Wildcats are in a playoff game. Brian Adams is coming in.
Yeah.
I'm going to need extra staff.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to not be whatever those things. I think they've almost done it they're beginning to know on their own where they need to, you know, grow and they've been paying attention to trends because it's a byproduct of what we have on phones and the world that we live in. They're being much more aware, I think.
Do you have a direct say, or like how much influence do you have on like bringing acts in?
Very little.
Okay.
I mean, we would offer feedback to the producers or the venues.
Right.
But very little. So, and it's done in collaboration. I mean, there's some great people that work at City Hall that are giving that feedback or that intel to the Avenir Center, Capitol, to Nescawet, to the different venues. We are more on the receiving end in the sense that, you know, we understand what's happening and then we have to react to it. But, you know, sometimes we are proactive and we do reach out to the venues, and yeah, they're very receptive, and they obviously want to put on a great show. So it could be absolutely win-win.
Yeah, and I think that what Pat and team has done really well too is what are the supports on the outside that can help what's happening on the inside of the Avenir. You know, if so and so is coming, can we have something on the outside where there's an opportunity for a local band if X band is playing on the inside? And while we might not be able to decide if for so and so to be at the Avenir Center, we can be involved, and Pat and team can be a part of the conversation around what can happen maybe outside of it for those kinds of things. And so it happens New Year's Eve as an example, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
How close? What I had heard quite a bit, which I've not. If you go through the comments or anything like that, especially with like how the uprise of the support for the Wildcats, especially this year because they were so good, people were like, "Oh, it would have been so," because the games were like, I bought tickets hoping that there was a game 7. They were sold out in minutes, and then like I think it was game 5. So game 5 got sold out. People were like, "Oh, I wish there was like a viewing party." Like, or those some things that are, "Oh shit, I wish we could have done that." Like, how quickly can you even pivot to do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we would rarely lead something like that. That's a pretty big undertaking, and unfortunately, we're a relatively small team.
Okay.
But to your point, there was maybe a missed opportunity there to show some of the games outside, but it is pretty cost prohibitive. It's very expensive. So if I have to, you know, put my hand up for that, I think that's probably the main reason. That being said, though, the city's reacting to it. They're going to host hopefully for the finals a viewing
Very
party.
cool.
So, but yeah, I mean, you'd want to have a little bit more prep time than a couple of weeks, but it's kind of hard to react. But yeah,
it's a heavy lift. That's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
It's a heavy lift, but it also, what are the other things in the absence of being able to do that can we do? Again, if we look at solutions, what kind of celebration can we have? What other thing can we do to create something along those lines? What are the possibilities to celebrate the cup that was won? To welcome them home. I don't know what that is. I'm not suggesting, but I do think that there's probably other things that could be done in the absence of being able to sort of maybe engage in that heavy lift, which would have been the viewing party. But there's probably other things that can, right?
We had great merchants that hosted their own thing, right? Their own party. So
totally.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, it's true. There were a lot of people that were just watching it, and not even in an organized way. That was very consistently across the downtown and outside of the city, outside of the downtown core as well, that were doing the same. Great opportunity to.
Now I've heard some rumblings, and you were super excited about the summer programming. Like, what can people expect? Because obviously that's probably something that you've put a lot of effort and done the heavy lifting, and now it's prepared, and hopefully it's just the weather that we need to cooperate. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think that this year specifically, we've done a good job putting that all together. So we did a press conference, which is the first time we do that.
Okay.
Just to kind of get everything under one roof or on a one page.
Yeah.
People know, or I think they're familiar with Canada Day and a few different events, or most of them anyways. But just understanding that there is a lot going on. So like, I think it's mid-June. So again, don't quote me on the dates, but around the 15th, you kick it off at the Highland Games.
Okay.
So there's 5 weekends in a row. So there's the Highland Games, the Rib Fest, Canada Day weekend, the Atlantic Nationals, and then it finishes the Buskers.
So every weekend, it's like,
every weekend downtown or something.
Nice.
And those are major events.
Yeah.
And then you have stuff on in between that and around that again, Pride, Mosaic, all these different festivals and events. So pretty exciting summer. There's some new ones too. There's an jerk chicken festival this summer.
Okay. Yeah,
so
I did see that.
Different.
Yeah.
Excited about that, to see that one.
Very cool.
Atlantic Nationals is going to do again like something on the Saturday night. So that's I think it's like a downtown kitchen party. So there's a few new additions, which is really nice to see.
And I think that even sort of Pat referenced the press conference, and it's the structuring of these summer programs that's really important from a promotional perspective. You can have a festival here and a Mosaic here and a Pride here but the way in which it's packaged and what DMCI has done from a promotional standpoint is absolutely key. A press conference is not just, it serves a really important purpose, and it galvanizes a lot of people to go, this is all happening as one large, it's toute une affaire, right? There are many things happening in the downtown, and it really creates a sense of awareness and interest in the collective of activities, in addition to the individual activities. But the collective of all of those things really creates a feeling of there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's one great thing
and having a consistent approach at like having it back to back weekends seems very encouraging from a perspective of the business owner that has a business there that maybe during COVID was just surviving each and every day, hoping that the money was still going to be there or whatnot, and then getting past that and being like, okay, I've made it through, and then seeing, oh, okay, great, they've listened to us, there's investment, they're trying to get even outside of just me doing my marketing, trying to get people in the doors. They're trying to just get people in the proximity of my doors, which is really cool, right?
Yeah. Totally.
I think at the end of the day, that's what we try to do. We try to get people downtown. We also look at events too, like as it can have a public safety element to it, right? So if there is a perception, and there is a perception that downtown isn't safe, well, maybe but I had a really great experience on the weekend, and I came downtown and I had a really good time, and I went to the Busker Festival, and I spent 2 days and I had a great time, and my kids were happy, and my wife was happy, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything funny, and that's okay. And like maybe I'll be prone to come back downtown.
Yeah, it contributes to that, to
and
the
so
believability of it. Which
do
is
I
true.
think a busker festival is going to solve all our problems? No, but they could definitely help. Create memories, create experiences, and I think people are excited to just get out and do stuff.
Yeah.
And a key to a lot of what we do, and we're lucky that we have a really great partner in the city of Moncton, is a lot of these events are free.
Okay.
And so
Right.
that can be rare in some instances around different cities.
Yeah.
A lot of the programming the city sponsors is free and accessible.
Okay.
And we try to mimic that. So having family focused, family friendly events, bringing young families downtown, super important.
Yep. And I think that one of the things too, so we have the holiday piece and then there's the summer part.
Yeah.
And it's about what can we learn from those seasonal programming that allows us to think about new ways.
Yeah.
And I am not suggesting that we have a fall scenario,
Right.
but what is it? What do we learn from that, and over time do consistently that we go, you know what? We could do a fall flavors thing. I'm not making this up, but what is there an opportunity there? Oh, we noticed that there is a turn in restaurants when this particular festival happened, and maybe there is an opportunity to do something around that.
Gotcha.
So I think that those two, now that they've existed and continue to exist for a period of time, it's like, what are we learning from them?
Right. Yeah.
And how can we expand with something else potentially? What
have you taken away from the learning experience of what has transpired from this holiday season?
It's a great question. I think, well, we talked about trends, so understanding trends. So that's a good one. So, I learned this past holiday season, like, people will come downtown if you promote the right things. So if you promote the Christmas market and you tell them where to park, and like, people I think have a misconception that it's really hard to come downtown and you're gonna get lost and you don't know where to park, and it's just really convoluted. It's like it's the same downtown that's always been
huge.
there.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty easy to do.
Kilometers.
Yeah.
So far. Like, but to your point, like, it's walkable, right? So
but telling them those things, you need to tell them those things.
To.
Yeah, we learn those things.
People want to feel like, okay, I know where I'm going to go park. I know where I'm going to go walk to. I know what I'm going to do. And you kind of have to handhold them a little bit, which is fine. I like that too. Like, I like the fact that someone's going to tell me, okay, go there, park there, do this. But that's probably a good takeaway. Like, from this past holiday, we did a lot of that to, like, just there was a little bit of construction downtown, so we had to do that, and then it kind of forced us to be a little bit more like, obvious with our marketing and whatever. So that was a good one.
Yeah. And I think it is that it's about having paid attention to, how did the marketing of the market work?
Right.
And the thing with the market, the Christmas or the holiday at the market was the types of activities that were around it. So you had everything from Christmas films to food to music there was just a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. That I think allows for a lot of gaining understanding of what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
Like, and I don't know the answer to this, but did people go to the movies?
Right.
Or did they mostly just hang out for the arts and crafts and buy gifts? Like, those are the kinds of things that this is the first year in the can.
Yeah.
But what can we learn from that for next year? Because people, the holidays in the summertime are two times where people are like, it's a happy time.
Yes, 100%.
Rightfully, wrongfully, we're happy. Yeah. There's lights. It's gifts and whatever it is that you enjoy. But those are the two sort of times where people are much more likely to go, let's be joyous. Yeah. So and finding the ways in which to make them more joyous in those moments, and paying attention to what works. Is the key in all this, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to play on that feeling of that. Especially the holiday one, I think, like, a lot of people they want to play on that nostalgia of how Christmas felt. And if you can replicate that in the experience that you have in a holiday market or your holiday programming, people are going to be like, man, it just, like, I felt like a kid again.
Yeah.
And that's almost like that feeling that you want to get. I also really appreciate that you've brought awareness to the fact that a lot of people, it's important to, even though it sounds boring, do the marketing of accessibility and where to park and those things there, because I think we all remember when the Avenir Center, I friggin' love the Avenir Center. I think it's the awesomest thing. I think it just really sucks that it opened and then a year later we had COVID, and because man, I remember going to the first Wildcats game with my dad. I used to go with my dad to the Wildcats at the Coliseum when I was young all the time. Like we were huge fans. And I remember going the last game before COVID, and it was like packed house. Alexis Lafrenière was playing for Rimouski, and I was like, man, how friggin' cool is this that we have this? It feels like you're almost in a mini Bell Center.
Yeah.
And then COVID hits,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, fuck. But reason why I'm saying that is I think we all remember is like people are like, well, there's no parking to go to Avenir Center.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Yeah.
there's like probably more spots within 500 meters from the Avenir Center than there was in the Moncton Coliseum.
Well, you could park at my house. Like literally, it's
we could
just
all park at Tracey's house.
No, seriously, I know it was, and it was like that was the topic of conversation at the
I
time.
think there's more handicap parking spots closer to the Avenir Center than there was in the parking lot at the Moncton
Yeah,
Coliseum.
it's no longer a topic of conversation. You know,
No,
it's
it
now,
isn't.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, and in all fairness, we are very much a car-centric society. So people, and like the first thing, like my dad has accessibility issues. It's like, okay, well, how are we gonna get there?
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah.
That being said, it's no longer a conversation because
Right.
people have adapted and people have understand how to get there.
Yeah.
So you have to do it once or twice.
Yeah.
I remember going to Halifax to see the Mooseheads. We had won like a prize pack to go check out a Mooseheads game and brought the family, and we go down and it's like, okay, you're Googling how to get there. Like it's the first thing you do. So the Avenir, what's great about the Avenir is that we believed, like DMCI as an organization, we've believed in that space since day one.
Yeah.
So we've actually committed funds to the Avenir Center because we wanted it downtown. It had to be downtown.
Right.
In our eyes, it had to be.
100%.
And it's been such a catalyst to growth. And I'm not convinced that the Three Sisters would have been downtown had they,
I agree.
had the Avenir Center not be built. I'm not convinced that the hotels around.
Yeah.
Oh, I know for a fact that the hotels would not have been built. Investment happening, across the street at the Baton Rouge and the Bunker and all these different great spaces that. Should we not have 1.2 million or whatever, how many people go to the Avenir Center a year, flowing through the front doors on a regular basis, we wouldn't have these great things. So
that growth
it's been such a great thing, and parking was such a big element to the opening and to the kickoff and all that, and then it's become such a non-issue now. It just goes to show how people, they just have to see it. They just have to experience it once. And then they get it.
Yeah, and to your point, also, I'm going to go back to the idea of trends. We have become a society, like, let's be clear about generationally the shifts that have happened in terms of how we need things done for us now. I'm older than everybody in this space. We waited in line.
Right.
We waited for parking. We literally today, and I'm not implying that there's a level of laziness, but I'm going to kind of go there. We need to be told on our phones where to park, how to park, how the 2 minutes or the amount of time that it takes. That's okay. It's just we need to provide them with that information in order for them to be engaged in coming. So, and that's a shift in the way in which people consume information and then act on attending something. So you can do it without being so, but how to get there is now something that is a must-have versus a nice-to-have before.
Well, listen, there were still blockbusters when we were kids, so like we remember kind of that Netflix wasn't like, and I think that's the thing is society changes in a way where like your daughter she probably doesn't know about Blockbuster.
She does because I've talked about it.
Exactly.
And she's
but
watched
never
Friends.
been in one.
Right, but never would have existed at a time when that was even around. Wouldn't know.
So
totally.
And that I remember watching. There's something that I was just watching recently that when it was on, there were commercials, right? And so like I'm thinking like, man, I can watch like the 8 seasons this weekend, no commercials, nothing on Netflix. Like,
Yeah, so we have
it's
to,
made
yeah,
us in that way,
totally.
right?
And we have to pay attention to, what will bring people to the downtown to come to the holiday market.
Yeah.
Um, it's really cold out. Using this example, it's -20 on December 18th. What do we have to inform potential visitors to the holiday market about in that moment,
Do this. Yeah.
right? So keeping ourselves aware
Yeah.
of that is really a key. So that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, you're almost like kind of hand holding them, just being like, hey,
Yeah,
we're
we
like
want
your
them to
little
come down here,
chaperone
right?
to-
There's some great things happening.
we
Oh,
want
there's
you.
so many options. Like
Yeah.
there's
Oh
so
my goodness,
like
yeah.
you could do anything now. You could pick up your phone. You can go to another city. You can go to somewhere else. You can go to the north end. You can like there's so many like so what why would I come downtown?
Right.
So and this is why. And so us being deliberate about why you should come downtown. What are you gonna experience? You know, what should you wear? What should like how do you prepare for this event? I think that's it's important. It's really important.
Yeah.
And if all else fails, you just take a mini scooter.
Yeah.
That's true.
Sorry, I don't know why that made me laugh.
That's just if
I
you
love
can't
it.
find a parking spot, just park
Take a mini scooter.
Just take
somewhere
the
else.
scooter.
Take a scooter in to the avenue.
How's that like? How long are those gonna last? Do you think?
I
Because
mean,
it seems like it's like because it was in Halifax and then
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're late to the party. I think
Yeah.
these have been in other cities for a long time.
yeah, that's true.
I was in
Well, like
Seattle.
Dixie Bike, like
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, I was in Seattle last fall, and like that's part of life. Like,
Right.
you like people don't own bikes because they have an e-bike available to
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
to rent every day. We're late to the game. I think we have to do some work, and obviously we've had discussions with the city that around bylaws and safety and all that.
Yeah.
There's definitely some work to do there. But yeah, I think people you have to get used to them, and they're not going anywhere. I mean, people even if they weren't the rentable scooters, people have motorized
Oh,
scooters
yeah,
now. So
Yeah, and
it's-
bikes, and you see
it's a
that
trend,
much
yeah.
more of them downtown. So yeah,
The
absolutely.
Dixie Bikes would be cool to kind
Yeah.
of have.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
With that being said, I always kind of and I try to mirror it in a way where or transform it in a way where it makes sense with the conversation and I think I'm making sense of it right now is if you could go back as far as back as you want, it could be 1998, could be 2005, it could be, and Pat, you've been there for 3 years, and it could be even farther back than that. If you take a step back at a point where these things were not in place, or Moncton was maybe not at the space that it was, and with the knowledge that you have today, what's one thing that you wish would have been done earlier that would have made our downtown so much better?
I have a great answer.
Then you go first.
Yeah, I talked about this. I've talked about this a lot. I think I would go back to I don't know how far back this is, but I would go back to just before the work on the Pedicodiac to dam the Pedicodiac was done, and I would advise against it.
Yeah.
I think as a downtown, we have to be, I don't know, maybe in Canada, maybe in North America, one of the, or among the only downtowns that all our buildings are facing away from the river. So we have a major waterway
right
in our downtown. I mean, it's the Pedicodiac.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's the tidal bore,
Yeah.
and all our buildings face away from it.
Okay,
Yeah.
And having no development, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's buildings, whether it was office space, whatever, a patio, a terrace, anything on the river would be better than not like where we are today. So we have very little on the river, and I know like there's work being done on a riverfront development plan, so I'm excited about that. But having a whole downtown and a whole city basically built away from the river,
that's true. Yeah.
and I know that it's not always been the nicest looking river.
Yeah.
It has a chocolate river nickname for a reason.
Yeah.
But it's such a shame.
It's true.
And when we do events downtown in the Riverfront Park, people want to get near it. People
Right,
want to go
right,
see the tidal
yeah.
board. Like we draw a lot of people to the downtown in the hotels that want to see the tidal board. I think growing up here, you get almost like you forget about it.
Yeah, you're like
The tidal board, when it hits at 8 a.m. or 5 p.m. or whenever the times are, if there's people in town, they're there. They want to check it out. Like people are fascinated by the wave coming in, the surfers on the tidal. Like it's really impressive, and we've kind of forgotten about it.
Right.
It's kind of like in the back of our minds. I'm always amazed when we do events down there how many people go on the trail, stop, they look at it, they try to get really close to it. It's dangerous because it's a lot of tall grass. And there's there's things there that I would be scared of falling in, but whatever. We don't have a wharf or some sort of observation deck. Like there's so to answer your question, I would go back to pre causeway, pre creating the lake that messed up, I guess, the Petitcodiac, and I would advise against the construction, and I would encourage them to build on the river
right there,
or facing the river.
So that's a really good answer.
That's really good.
So that's a really good answer. So I'm gonna dovetail. I'm gonna like take that answer and sort of, because my thought was somewhere, and that it's leading me there. So if I think about 98, and I think about having come from Fredericton, which is the exact opposite, which everything is facing the St. John River. It is built on, everything is overlooking. There is a place to go to sort of stand over the St. John River and look. There was boats floating down the St. John River. There are businesses facing that water. So when I came here, in addition to that sort of ultimate infrastructure decision that Pat's referencing, in the absence of that, when I came here, I found that this idea of what we talked about the narrative of have not. I wish we could have shifted that sooner. Right. Because when I arrived, and for several years, and many years probably later, that belief of that permeated a bit. And I wish we had taken control of that conversation about pride in our downtown. And we had taken the reins on that one a bit more. And I think that it is part and parcel of the fact that we felt like there was nothing to look at. Had there not been what Pat's referencing. But I do wish we had believed in ourselves sooner as a downtown. Maybe. And I think that's what I would have, when that would have occurred for me, was the moment that I noticed that happening.
I think those two answers together would have solved pretty much all of our problems.
Probably, totally.
We figured it all out.
That's why we're here.
So time machine, go back in time.
Oh God, let's not bring back the hairstyles.
Very simple solutions.
Very simple solutions. Yeah, absolutely.
With all that being said, what I really love, especially about this conversation, it revolves around that theme that I've been very vocal about throughout this podcast with every person that comes on, is that at the end of the day, to continue to build a community, a city, whether it's infrastructure, social groups like the Downtown Moncton that are trying to make the core vibrant as ever, we need to take responsibility and ownership of it, and we need to lead that change, because it's not going on the internet and being pissed off about stuff that's going to help us make those changes, because we're just going to be a lot of pissed off people in the internet not really doing a whole lot, right? And I think that is something that we really try to have that conversation in this space, in order for maybe it's a few people that are going to listen to that, and it's going to shift their mindset and be like, you know what, like, I'm going to go to those events, or maybe next time that I go to a business, I'll spend a little bit more money, or maybe I won't go to the drive-thru tomorrow morning, I'm going to go to a coffee shop and work there in the morning. And I think those are things there that, even though you're not the business owner that can be a part of this organization and be a part of that conversation, you're still responsible and doing a positive act by doing those things in that business.
Yep, exactly.
So
absolutely,
it's been really encouraging to see that you're obviously thinking about amazing things. You're all in the right kind of frame of mind to do the right things. We're all able to park at Tracey's at any event now,
basically,
which is really awesome.
Free parking.
It's very large parking.
Free parking for everyone.
Very long driveway.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.